The quiet sounds of water trickling were the only noises disturbing the quiet morning. The cause was Yujito as she held a watering pot over several flowers with an unreadable expression on her face. Her dark blue eyes stared blankly at the water rolling across the colorful flower petals and down into the soil below. For years. It's so hard to think that much time has passed, thought Yujito, ending her watering. Things have gotten so peaceful since that day. The beautiful woman stood before heading back into her home. A cozy home located at the top of the Hokage mountain of all things. The dream home she and Naruto talked about was finally a reality. Naruto-kun, thought Yujito, thinking of the man she fell in love with. Before she could delve too deep into thoughts about him, Yujito felt a tug on her hand and looked down to see a child holding on to it. One look, and it wasn't hard to tell the child was hers either. A small boy, just over 3 years of age, with stunningly matching features to herself. Everything about him practically said Yujito except for the more golden blonde hair and violet eyes that he got from his father. Who'd have thought that moment in the forest of death would result in such a miracle? And Yujito was right. She would have never guessed such a thing would occur. She and Naruto were always careful. At least she was. Having the Nibi within her gave her something akin to auto-birth control in that regard, so they never had to worry. While a good thing, it led to carelessness. Carelessness thanks to Yujito having the Nibi ripped from her and being barely saved by Naruto before death. Then upon her awakening, them shacking up for hours, and Tada, Senju Baruto was staring up at her these years later, trying to get her to get a move on. Come on, Kachan. We have to go. It's time. I'm coming, said Yujito, steadily getting dragged along by her child. He was so excited that it was infectious and got Yujito to smile. He gets so excited just like his father. Yujito stared at the little boy happily dragging her through the leaf village as she looked around. Yujito was greeted by everyone who managed to spot her being led along by her child. Perks of being the hero's girl are still strong, thought Yujito, acknowledging everyone despite the constant tugging from her son. Makes sense. Naruto-kun didn't just save the village. He saved the world. Madara's genjutsu would have enslaved the world. It was hard to live down such a feat even if Yujito didn't directly do it. Being Naruto's lover, that praise fell over into her lap whether she wanted it to or not. The 4 years since, she still wasn't used to it. More so because the world heard of Naruto's actions and felt the same way. Mainly the other Kage of the hidden great villages. This was why the villages would come together every year on the day of Naruto's Herculean efforts. Not entire villages, but a village contingent was brought to Konoha to celebrate such a day. To continue building peaceful outlooks with one another. Was the world peaceful? Of course not. But this day was helping lead up to that point as the most influential people in the world all met and shared good times. All thanks to something Naruto had done. The dream Hashirama entrusted you with looks to be almost reality, Naruto-kun, thought Yujito, making it to Konoha's conference center. Seeing the 4 Kage of the other villages all commingling with one another brought a smile to her face. Your relationships with all of these people have brought them together where they can make a bond. Where they can see the cards of others and show their cards in return. And when leaders understand, the villages they lead tend to follow. Yujito looked at the people gathered and just smiled. Iwagakure's Kage happened to be the Sandaime Tsuchikige's daughter, Karatsuchi. She was a beautiful woman with strength that matched. And while she didn't know Naruto as personable as the others, she had a reason to come to Konoha, in the form of Uchiha Sasuke, who stood next to her. Even though Sasuke was trying to downplay how much he misses her when she isn't there, they looked good together. Yujito's eyes drifted to the next Kage, Terumi Mei. Like Karatsuchi, Naruto's and her relationship weren't very personable, for Yujito reasons cause that woman always tried to steal him. But Naruto had touched the ones in her contingent. Those included Zabuza and Haku, who both stood off to the side. Haku with her lover, Suigetsu, and Zabuza chatting away with his fellow swordsman, Kisame. After Naruto died, Kisame ended his fight with Itachi and returned home. He was surely punished for his actions prior, but it was good to see him smiling. Next up was the Kazekage, Gaara. Yujito didn't feel like she needed to dive into why Naruto was important to him. Gaara himself thought the world of Naruto. It'd only make sense he was here. Plus, Yujito was sure his sister had a thing for Naruto's friend, Shikamaru. Of course, they were coming. And lastly, Yujito spotted her own Kage. I stood looking the same as ever. She was the reason he and Naruto were so cool. He was practically her father. And Naruto and he bonded well with him, protecting her and his brother B several times. Plus, their little skirmishes and Naruto's connection to the man's chief rival helped. Also that it was weird to think Naruto had a hand in the lives of the Kages from the other major villages. How did one even meet one Kage from another village and get along? Let alone bring them all to his village and have them get along. It was crazy to think about. So crazy. Yujito barely registered her son taking off ahead of her. "IGG!" shouted Boruto, letting go of his mother's hand upon spotting the hulking Raikage. Hearing his name, I turned to see the small boy barreling toward him and opened his arms to him. "You came. Hey, Boruto. And, of course, I'm still Raikage, and it's my duty and honor to show up for another one of these," said I, meeting Yujito's eyes to see her wave at him. "Yujito. Hey, Raikage-sama. Where's Hokage Dano so we may start this?"
"Ah, Tsunade-sama,"
murmured the medic hearing her name. Realizing that Yujito had arrived, Tsunade nodded her head and smiled. "Right, let's get to it, shall we?" Raising a glass of alcohol, the others who were also of age did the same. A toast to a man we all know, a man we all admire, and a man who saved the world. I don't know how he touched all of your lives, but if it was anything like how he touched mine, I say you thank Kami for meeting such a wonderful soul. To Naruto. To Naruto. Everyone else repeated the words before downing their drinks. And then the World Peace meeting began with the epic block party. With it being just as great as last year. Only Yujito didn't drink her drink. Yujito couldn't. She just sat her drink down before quietly excusing herself from the festivities. Yujito took a step outside before sighing calmly and closing her eyes. "Naruto-kun," thought Yujito with her eyes closed and her hands on her stomach. She shook her head before a small tear ran down her cheek. I wish you." Yujito stood, hands on her stomach, while a gentle wind blew through the area. With that wind came an imposing aura. To enemies, it was a flea-on-sight aura. To her, it was the most comforting thing she'd ever felt. "Why are you crying, Nico?" Yujito's dark blue eyes slowly opened to see Naruto standing before her. He looked at her intently before kissing away her tear and placing his hands above hers. Yujito's lips curled into a smile as she looked at the man of her dreams. He was dressed dapperly in his Hokage cloak and hat. "I'm crying because I'm so happy. Tears of joy. Is that so? I thought it was because you couldn't drink due to the bun in your oven. You're right, and it makes me happy because of it. Our family is growing." "That it is," smiled Naruto while rubbing Yujito's pregnant belly. Naruto could feel the second chakra within her and smiled at its lively presence. "She seems happy too. Well, you're here. But how do you know she's a she? I'm only 6 weeks along. Not even actually showing. Mama's boy didn't react so endearingly to my chakra. I don't think he likes me that much. Daddy's girl in there does. Just fatherly intuition is all." A good point. She always gets more lively when Daddy's around," said Yujito, kissing Naruto chastely on the lips. She stayed close, nose to nose with Naruto, before she whispered, "So does Mommy. Careful. We have a peace meeting," warned Naruto, feeling Yujito's hands roam a bit. Both their eyes were closed, but Naruto could feel her smiling, until her hands gripped him hard, and her eyes widened in shock. "What's wrong? The baby? She's... What? What's they?" started Naruto before seeing the mischievous look on his wife's face. "Ugh, she got him again. I'm never going to see the end of this for what I did?" "Nope," giggled Yujito, popping the P sound before kissing Naruto again. Flashback, 4 years ago. Naruto looked shocked for a second, staring at himself to see no changes before looking out at Yujito. Before he could say or do anything, Naruto's face cracked, seemingly like destroyed earth. His hair grew white from its sunflower blonde as he aged considerably. He was decaying rapidly. One last look at Yujito before he crumbled into nothingness. Everyone's eyes widened in shock from the scene before them as the wind picked up and carried the dust that once was Naruto away from them. "Naruto," said Yujito softly, not understanding what just happened. Even the fight between Kisame and Itachi was put on halt as the man who slew Madara was seemingly dissolved into dust. "Naruto." Yujito fell to her knees in disbelief at what she saw. Naruto's chakra vanished. It was gone entirely. Yujito sat shaking her head because she didn't believe this was real. All that they'd been through and he just gotcha. Yujito perked up hearing Naruto's voice behind her, followed by snickers. Yujito turned to see Naruto, completely normal, standing behind her with a smirk on his face. Several tears had already seeped down Yujito's cheeks as Naruto started to feel bad. "Oh baby, I didn't mean to make you think I did, but man, bad joke," began Naruto, feeling bad by the prank he played. A blue flame coated Yujito's body as Naruto could feel killing intent. Genuine killing intent. "Nico, it was just a joke. To get you back for dying on me twice and Katan. Tenchi Kaijin, fire style. Heaven and earth end in ashes." A violent burst of blue fire expanded immediately, with Yujito at its epicenter. The others watching had to turn away for a moment at the light given off by the powerful flames. When they turned back, they saw an ash and soot-covered Naruto running for his life with Yujito in hot pursuit. "Nico, I'm sorry. I'm sorry," cried Naruto, running into the forest. Yujito followed right after before continuous blue flames spawned. Everyone heard Naruto's cries the entire time. "It was just a joke. Oh, come on. You're not even the Nibi's Jinchuriki anymore. How can you still use blue fire?" Out of everyone, Tsunade was the first to react. "Idiot. Just like his sensei," said Tsunade with a smile on her face. She punched her palm and nodded her head. "Let's finish this up so I can heal those who need it, and we can party." Flashback end. Ending the kiss, Yujito intertwined hands with Naruto. A few more chaste kisses before she turned and led him into the party. "You're late, Hokage-sama. It wouldn't do good to miss more? You're the hero after all," informed Yujito, feeling Naruto tug her back into him. Her body molded perfectly into his as she could feel him smiling. This time, Yujito felt Naruto's hands roam over her. "Hokage-sama, you're right. I'm late. It's not like I can be late twice." Yujito grew excited. "I should take my time." Yujito knew where this was going. So a simple smile was on her face before the two of them vanished in a flicker. Yujito's melodious laugh was the last thing heard as it was carried away by a gentle breeze.